Nicolas Cage. Where do you begin? Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today we are looking at Willy's Wonderland starring Nicolas Cage. So Willy's Wonderland is very loosely based off of several products. The one that comes to mind for me is the video game Five Nights at Freddy's. You essentially play as a security guard. You're in charge of a toy shop, so to speak. It's kind of like a fairground. And the mascots come to life at night and they viciously and violently try to kill you. I think the concept changes a little bit. Sometimes it's you're a young boy in your bedroom and your toys are coming to life like evil Toy Story. But essentially it is on that footnote of toys / mascots come to life and try to kill you. Nicolas Cage plays a guy. You don't actually get a name, you don't get a word out of him throughout this whole thing, which strangely works actually, but I'll get to that as we move forward. He has one of the most badass intros ever as a character. It's completely tongue-in-cheek. I think they know exactly what they're trying to do. At no point does this film ever try and convince any member of the audience that this is a chef's kiss, tour de force, Oscar nominee. It never even tries to do that, and it's a good move because it lets you know what's coming and what to expect. It lets you set the bar. Nicolas Cage arrives in a town with a flat tyre and he doesn't have any money to fix the tyre. He offers to take some work so that he can pay for the damage in that regard. The job is to be on staff at Willy's Wonderland, a child's playground area, a fun zone, a soft play, where kids would hold their birthdays, but the place has been run down for years and has graffiti and boarded windows. It doesn't look very welcoming at all. But nonetheless, Nicolas Cage's silent character takes the job and is actually quite good at the job. He starts cleaning and fixing the place up while these animatronic mascots try to kill him. But he's not locked in there with them. They're locked in there with him.
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
This is a very strange movie. It's incredibly tongue-in-cheek. It does know what it is, and it actually serves the film well that they try and stick into that pocket. It does still fail on some aspects, it must be said, but for what it is, there is certainly a lot of enjoyment to be had here. It does seem to have a one-note gimmick of the fact that Nicolas Cage is going to be having brutal fights with these animal-like mascots. And there's about 6 or 7 of them, I think. So that is pretty much the running gimmick of the show. And it does get tiresome. And some of the fights are incredibly lacking compared to some of the other fights where they get brutal. They get violent. Like, Nicolas Cage pulls some Predator shit on that ostrich. And at times it's unbelievably hilarious. The fight with the gorilla in the bathroom, I was like crying my way through that fight because it was just... It brought me to a moment where I just had to pause and think, like, this is what's happening with my day today. We've had a great day. This has been a reasonably good day. And here we are now. We're bringing it to an end. We're getting the wine open. We've had dinner. We're putting our feet up. We're looking to go to bed. But Nicolas Cage is punching the fuck out of a gorilla. I'm game if you're game. And that's strangely what makes this film difficult to judge. It knows what it is and it never tries to exceed that expectation for you. By not exceeding that expectation, it actually somewhat fails at delivering for you at the same time. You do get to a point where the gimmick wears off and you're just not that interested, you're not laughing as much, you're just sort of waiting for it to finish. Nicolas Cage is absolutely carrying this. At no point is any of the poor points of this movie on Nicolas Cage. He's the glue that's holding this together. Any other actor in this film fails entirely, doesn't even get a laugh, doesn't even warrant the attention span for it. It's Nicolas Cage's show.
And I'll be damned if I didn't get really turned on.
He's great. I love that his character doesn't talk, actually, because Nicolas Cage can give wild performances, and I mean wild performances. This seemed like a challenge to him. It's not something I've ever known him to do, to be completely silent and completely rely on his facial expressions, his mannerisms, his enraged stares. It totally worked here. He felt like a video game character. There's no answers to this guy. He is a complete mystery. There's no point trying to be invested about the guy. You're not going to find out. And I'm kind of okay with that. I wouldn't really be that interested in finding out his past, whether he's ex-military or maybe a criminal on the run. I don't really think we need to know. I think it works with the ambiguity. My real issue with the film, it's the kids. It's the teenage kids. I can't tell you. I mean, how many horror movies are there with teenagers and teenage problems, and they're just, they're having sex and they get killed and they all deserve it. Like, you don't ever feel for these teenage characters. This is such a trope that I've been done with since the early 2000s. I think of things like Scream and that. They kind of hit the pocket right. But so many films have just been false pretenders ever since, thinking that's the only way you can do this. And it shows that you do need to be able to be a talented writer if that's the path you're going to go down. Because just chucking in throwaway characters that are just angsty teenagers that you don't like, you don't remember their names, you don't care what happens to them, that's not good. Every time they're on screen, it's like this film's just... Can we get back to Nicolas Cage, please?
Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's got some good jokes, it must be said. Not all of them work, but there are a few that do genuinely get a good chuckle out of you, that are worth the time and effort. You need to know your own taste before going into this film. If this doesn't sound like it would be your cup of tea, if it doesn't, ring home, if you're not a fan of stupid Nicolas Cage movies, then avoid it. It's plain and simple as that. If you are one of those people who likes bad movies, likes to crack open some alcohol when we're watching these films, then dive right in, because I think there's a lot of fun to be had. I had a lot of fun with it. This is probably the most challenging rating for a movie I've ever had to give. On one scale, it's a 3 out of 10, and then on the other scale, it's like a 7 out of 10. It really does depend what angle you want to look at this movie from. I'm somewhere sort of in the middle. The short-term effect from this film, walking away, I did enjoy it. It did have my attention. It's not forgettable. I am going to remember this. I wouldn't be against revisiting it. It's not something I would, oh yes, definitely, I need to see that again. I need it on Blu-ray. But I wouldn't be against watching it again. The longevity of it is, give it 2 or 3 years and we might not remember this film quite so fondly.
I'm a vampire! 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 I'm a vampire!
It certainly isn't at any point one of the best Nicolas Cage movies. It doesn't ever try to get to those heights. It's just sort of middle of the road at times. I must say as well, for what is horror, it isn't scary. You again obviously be the judge of what you would be upset by or frightened by. But for me, no, not at all. At no point was there any tension, any actual fear. I appreciate that they tried in that regard. I'm glad that we got some blood splatter over cut away and you just hear a fading scream. I can't stand that myself. If you're going to do a horror movie, you need to be bringing out the big guns when it comes to the violence and the scary stuff. You can't be, ooh, what happened? She died. That's what happened.
Oh, murder, murder, murder.
I'm going to give Willy's Wonderland a 5 out of 10. This is one of those films where you really do need to have your own instinct before you go in to watch it. It's all about what you like. I love Nicolas Cage movies, so I'm always going to be somewhat favourable towards these sort of projects. But like I say, if it wasn't Nicolas Cage, this film would fall flat on its face. I absolutely recognise that. This is being carried on the shoulders of Nicolas Cage, and he does a great job with it. With the right attitude, the right frame of mind, the right evening, the right alcohol, this could be the perfect movie. On the opposite of all of that, it might just be the worst. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked this review. If you could leave a like, comment and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.